Gary Herbert served as the governor of the state of Utah between 2009 and 2021. That's a long run. Before that, he was Utah's lieutenant governor between 2005 and 2009. For 14 years before that, he served on the Utah County Commission, served in the Utah National Guard, attended BYU, served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And before all of that, he was a quarterback, the point guard, and the pitcher for the Orem High School Golden Tigers. Welcome to the Wise Guys on the week of Pioneer Day. It's good to have you here.
Well, it's great to be with you guys, and I'm just grinning at all the things you're talking about here, and it's like we're just hanging out at the Arctic Circle and having a hamburger and talking sports.
I was thinking today, as we talked on the phone and we were going over some of this stuff, you're playing quarterback up the street at Orem High School about 7 years before Lavelle got the job at BYU. If you'd come a little bit later,
oh yes,
or Lavelle got here a little bit earlier, instead of Gary Scheide, would we be talking about Gary Herbert?
You know, I don't think so. In my wildest dreams, my coach was Udell Westover, who's a great coach. He passed away here a few years ago, but just a wonderful coach and did a great job at Orem High School. And I know he used to say every time I put Herbert in, the Humane Society would call up, because I only weighed 135 pounds. So I was pretty small. That was back in the days when, you know, where you lived is where you played.
Right. There wasn't this hopping around stuff.
Not stacking of teams and everybody moving around, getting the super teams out there. So Orem High through the 60s and through the 70s had a really great tradition in football and basketball and baseball, but football particularly, we were pretty strong.
As a Golden Tiger myself, Blaine played high school football in New York and was a big shot. But as a Golden Tiger myself, I noticed there were no state championships during that Herbert run, but you were close in football in consecutive seasons.
That's not true. So you've got to go back and check your data.
Yes.
In 62, 63, we won the state championship when I was a sophomore. I did most of my cheerleading, you know, from
so wait a second. So you're claiming that title, even though you didn't play till the next year.
I was in school there. I worked on the shock teams, helped them get ready for the games. I was kind of the Rudy Rudiger, you know, of Orem High School football.
You were not the Rudy Rudiger. You had a major role in all of that stuff.
My guess is, too, when you weren't pitching, you were probably playing shortstop or one of the
third base.
See, there you go.
Hot corner.
So
they used to say if my chest would hold up, I'd field 1,000. So
I love it.
I played baseball. I actually probably baseball is my best sport, although basketball I was pretty good. I just a little small.
So you're in the huddle. Let's go back. Yeah, I'm sure you can remember. It's just a couple years ago.
Oh, yes.
You're in the huddle. You're playing in the snow. I think it's the state semifinals up at, I don't know if it was Highland.
Judge Memorial.
And
we played Highland my junior year. We played Judge Memorial my senior year.
Yeah, and
in the snow,
and lost by the freakish of all plays.
We lost to Highland on a block punt, 6-0, and they were really a great team, and they've been listed as one of the best teams in Utah history.
Yeah,
they had the Jackson twins, which you all know here, the orthopedic surgeons, and Stu Simpson, who's passed away, was their quarterback. And they just had a deep team. We were, you know, as far as numbers, they had like 3 deep in every position. We had people going both ways at Orem High. We competed with them, and 6-0 we lost, and I think we were the second best team in the state that year.
And then the next year was special teams.
Judge Memorial, we doubled them on total offense, but our kicker pulled his groin.
Oh no!
And so we missed the extra points.
Because you had a freshman come in.
Well, yes, but it was not his fault. It was the fact that the guy got hurt, our regular kicker. They finally brought in the freshman. And it was just, the pressure was pretty bad. He kicked it left over the left tackle and about did him a rectum analysis with the football. But it was a bad kick. But we lost 13-12.
Oh.
And we should have been.
Has the pain ever gone away from something like
you never forget some of those things, doggone it. And you guys keep bringing it up. So every time I bump into the Jackson twins, they say, remember that game?
Oh, no.
You know, I mean, that's been back in 1964.
Yeah,
and they're still rubbing it in.
Just the other day.
I still remember plays, but not quite that long. Do you still remember plays from those games?
Oh, yes.
Isn't that amazing how sports?
Well, you golf with your receiver, Ron Hawkins.
Your
running
back, Tom Whitaker.
Yeah.
And
we played.
You golf with us too, but these are old school guys.
Guy Robert Bingham, who led the state in yards per carry, played our fullback. We had a unique play. Larry Fackrell was our center, made all-state because we had a pulling center. It was a unique play.
What does that mean?
Means he, rather than the guards pulling, the tackle pulling, the center pulled and led the sweep, and Robert Bingham led the state in carries, average carry yards per carry, and Laurel Fackrell made all-state because of that one play.
As a center. Hey, you know who would pull the center is Coastal Carolina, which is really, really unusual. And that game that BYU played back there, they run this midline option, and they would pull that really small, really athletic center and get him out in front, and he was just eating people up on the edge. They got back in the day.
Yeah, hey, we started.
That's from back in the day.
We invented
True
that
pioneers.
play. Yeah, it's actually Laryl. I bumped into him here last Christmas. He plays Santa Claus. If you go to the mall and see a Santa Claus there, good chance it's Laryl Fackrell, the All-State center from Orem High's Golden Tigers of 1965.
So if we send our grandkids to sit on the lap, say, hey, Santa, were you a pulling center back in the day?
He'll say, oh, yeah, let me tell you how it worked.
He'll remember that. Isn't it fun, though? So, we get to play with you and Ron once in a while and your old teammates. How sports brings us together. What is it about sports that all these years later, those guys you played with, they're still brothers, and you still keep that contact?
Ron Hawkins, Robert Bingham, and I have known each other since we played Pee Wee League baseball when we were 7 or 8 years of age. Wow. That's a long time ago.
That is a long time.
And we do have a lot of memories. Sports, we just had fun. We're just starting about when they invented Little League. Mm-hmm. Before that was Sandlot. You remember the movie Sandlot?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And we just gather on the corner and find a field and play some ball. We used to go out and play football on the old football field at Lincoln Junior High School.
This is when kids used to play outside.
Play outside, not video games.
Right.
And the competition was fun. You wanted to excel. For me, I was pretty shy actually when I was young, but sports, I could compete, and it was kind of the way I interacted socially, particularly when I got into high school in those teenage years when it's a little more difficult. But sports are just a great thing that we all can enjoy, whether you're a participant or whether you're a fan. And there's a sport for everybody.
Yeah.
I've taken up golf when I was 42. I took up tennis when I was 28. And I love both of those sports. Those are sports for a lifetime.
Pickleball's next for you. It sounds like you're on the trajectory.
I've got a pickleball court in my backyard, but I'm still into tennis.
Yeah.
And pickleball is the fastest growing sport for those over 50. And so you guys probably are getting close to qualifying.
Oh, man. I'm there.
We're knocking on the door.
I just learned how to keep score.
It's that or the Live Tour.
It's like 2-2-1. I was like, what are you guys even talking about? 2-2-1. You're the second server, and it's 2-1. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's confusing, but it's easier to play, not to chase the ball as far.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody can play and have a good time. Golf is good because you can play against the course. You can play with Johnny Miller, and you can play yourself, and it's you against the course.
We play with Dan Forsman a lot.
Dan,
he's the best player out there.
Johnny and Linda are coming into town to come to the rodeo.
Oh, yeah?
Was that right?
July rodeo. Yeah, we're going to be up to the.
That's fantastic. Good stuff.
So, who knew that Johnny Miller liked rodeo?
That's crazy.
I didn't. I just thought he liked golf.
Yeah.
I just ran into Billy Casper's sweet wife the other day at dinner or at brunch, and we were reliving some of the memories. I got to play with Billy a few times, and I feel like Billy's like the most underrated golfer in the history of the game.
No question. I played with him at Riverside here a few years. He did a couple of benefits for me at some fundraising we did when I was governor on a golf fundraiser. And he'd come out and do a demonstration, and give a clinic and stuff. But I played with him. He was probably 79, 80 years of age at the time at Riverside. And he shot about a 71 or 72.
He was unbelievable.
He didn't hit it as far, but he got up and down. It didn't matter where he was at. He got up and down. Great guy. Just a really, the Big Three and Me, the book. I don't know if you read that, but as Jack Nicklaus said in the foreword, that it should have been the Big Four. It should have been a quartet, not a trio.
Yeah.
Those three all had. So we're talking about Gary Player. And Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer all had the same agent who did a phenomenal job of publicizing them and getting all that out there. And so they had all kinds of deals and were in the limelight. And Billy was just quietly winning golf tournaments left and right and majors and all those things, but never really was out in the limelight like those three, and arguably he was as good as any of them.
For a stretch there, for probably about a 2-year stretch, he was the best.
Yeah. With the exception of Jack, of course, but you could put him right up there with Arnie. And
he told me, he says, one of the biggest mistakes I made was not going with the same agents that did Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicholson, Gary Player. He had a guy that came to him and says, "You're going to get lost in the shuffle. I'll just handle you exclusively." Big mistake. Big mistake.
One thing we love about this show is the opportunity for honesty. So when you're the governor as a BYU guy, and you got to go up to the U to those Utah football games. Oh. As the governor representing the state and all that stuff, was it hard to be impartial?
It's like having children. Do you have a favorite child?
I think we all have favorites, but we never admit it.
Well, that may be the way it is with your family, but in my family, I love them all equally.
Right.
And as the governor, I talked about being very ecumenical. Again, anything that promotes the state of Utah and puts us in a good light, I'm for. And we have some great institutions. Some are larger, some are smaller. And certainly the University of Utah and that rivalry. Again, we've got a new president up there, President Randall. And I think that the relationships, as they ought to be between the two schools, ought to be one of intense competition but mutual respect. And I think with who we have in place there, that can happen. That ought to happen. And so I've tried not to put any kerosene on the fire. I have children that have went to the University of Utah, All-Americans. My son-in-law is a baseball player. Then my brother was an all-WAC second baseman at the University of Utah. My son was graduated in engineering, MBA. I've had that. And my daughter-in-law is the valedictorian at the University of Utah. My sons played tennis at BYU. I went to BYU. So
your son-in-law, Ben Cahoon, BYU guy.
Big BYU guy, one of the best receivers of all time. Nicknamed Velcro hands because the ball just seemed to stick to his hands. And if he'd had any, he was 5'9" with two pairs of socks.
Mr. Canadian football.
Yeah, and he just got back. They just coincidentally a week ago, they honored one of the Grey Cup teams that he played on, and he's still a big hero up there. And he was the one to bring in the Grey Cup at the end after they announced all the team members, and big ovation. They stood in line for an hour and a half to get his autograph afterwards. Nice.
So he's a Hall of Famer up there, right?
Yeah.
I think he's a Hall of Famer
Hall
up
of
there.
Famer, retired his number.
He is
leading receiver of all time when he retired.
Yep, in the Canadian Football League. Yeah, he was. We used to say he can catch it so good he can catch BBs in the dark. That's when you can catch BBs in the dark, you can pretty much catch anything, and that was Ben Cahoon. So he just go get it. It was really, really fun to watch.
So
such a good guy too. He and Kim are a fantastic power couple.
We've been talking a lot about college football realignment, and there's an opportunity that could happen that could send Utah to the Big 12, and that would put them in the same league as BYU. Some things would have to happen, but there's actually a possibility for that, probably more so than any of the other scenarios that are floating out there. Would you like to see these two back in the same conference at a Power 5 or whatever we're going to call it level?
I would. I think that there's really significant benefit to those two powerhouses competing and continue to compete. Coach Kyle Whittingham's a good friend of mine, and we've golfed and played tennis together. He's a tennis player, and he's done a great job up there at the University of Utah for their football program. So this kind of disintegration we see, that maybe not the right terminology, but this breakup of the Pac-12 has got to cause a little concern for him and his future and what they're doing there at the University of Utah. Hearing you talk about the ticket prices and what's happening, you know, the old phrase, it's all about the Benjamins, comes into play here, because I think it is really about money, maybe too much about the money and what's happened with these realignments of the different conferences and people jumping from here to there because they're going to get more money. The old idea of having regions together with our ability to travel with airlines and all, it's an extra hour travel to go to more to the Midwest, and so that's not the obstacle it once was. But I'm very concerned about the money that's being infused into college athletics now.
NIL type?
Name, likeness, name, image, likeness. Is, I think I'm very John Estide and skeptical about what the outcome of that's going to be. I think donors are going to start looking to donate directly to players and not to the universities.
Right.
The rich will get richer. You know, we already have heard about multi-million-dollar deals for
$9.5 million deal for a high school quarterback to attend The University of Miami.
I mean, it's
and it sounds like he turned down an $11 million deal at Florida to take the Miami deal. Never played a down of college football in his life.
Well, you know what's going to happen out of that, Blaine, is that pretty soon the pros are going to say, let's start drafting high school players.
Yeah, that would be a shame.
You know,
and develop them under their watch.
Absolutely, and get them in the pipeline. You know, Major League Baseball, the similar types of things. So, NFL football is going to probably come up with the same kind of thing. And you know, you've got arena football and European football and CFL and other ways you can kind of groom people. So I'm a little concerned about that, and we'll have to wait and see. And I'm a little bit concerned and skeptical.
I hate to see that because I watch how that college experience changes the lives of young, in football's case, young men. But college athletics in any sport, young men and young women come in and they grow so much and they become such a better functioning member of society. They learn how to be on a team. They learn how to sacrifice. They learn how to be disciplined. They learn so many things, but they also learn to be off on their own and to be in an environment where they're doing it just to better themselves, not because somebody's paying them $9 million. You take that college experience away. I think you take a lot away from these young people. I really do. I hate that idea.
The college experience, you know, we all have appreciated our associations and cheering for the team, the home team, you know, let your colors fly, as the Beach Boys used to sing about. Be true to your school.
Be true to your school.
And I'd hate to have people miss that. I remember when Moses Malone, he was drafted right out of high school. He became a great NBA basketball player, but he missed out on a lot too.
Kobe Bryant.
LeBron
James.
You know, Kobe, I met with Kobe the last game he played the Jazz.
When he had 60 or something like that?
He dropped 60 on the Jazz, his last game. And I was right there. I had seats right close by the visiting team. And his agent, manager, came over to me and said, "Hey, Kobe would like to talk to you after the game." Wow. And I said, "Any particular reason why?" He says, "Well, he knows you're a good Republican and he's a Republican."
Oh, wow.
And so I have a video of me and him talking after the game was over. But, you know, they all started out slow but then developed later on. They could have been developing in college and learning how to manage your money, other aspects of life and community. In my case, you know, I'm concerned about people not participating in civics, how we develop policy, don't realize what's made America great, what's making Utah great, and are not learning that because they skip out of the college. It's all about sports. It's all about the Benjamins. And so they become less than they're capable of being in all aspects of life.
It's interesting. Scott Warner was here from GIG last week, the CEO, and he presented a case that was also compelling with that players should be able to cash in a little bit on their name, image, and likeness, and this is a way to do it. But there just aren't any guidelines from the NCAA or the government to keep it from becoming $9 million deals for a kid who hasn't taken a snap, as opposed to allowing a kid to make enough money where he doesn't need a summer job.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be a happy spot in there somewhere.
But we've allowed, again, you're ostensibly there to get an education.
Yeah.
You play ball on the side. Anymore, it's you play ball and you may get an education.
Yeah, by accident.
Too many of them don't graduate. And we had kind of reverence for amateur athletics. Mm-hmm. And who was the Native American that had his medals taken away? Blaine, this is a trivia question.
Oh, man.
Because he played semi-pro baseball.
Oh, so played at Notre Dame?
No, he was. Anyway, I shouldn't have brought it up without knowing the name.
That's all right.
But he was a great athlete, all-around athlete.
I was thinking Jim Thorpe.
Jim Thorpe, that's who it was.
Yeah.
Way to go. You can go to the head of the
5
class.
points.
Jim
I get
Thorpe,
5?
5 points.
Nice.
And that was, we were so strict then that because he played another sport, he was track and field in the Olympics and won all these medals. He played semi-pro baseball, made like $25 a month, and they stripped him of his medals. Mm. Now, they since here recently, I think about 20 years ago, gave him back to him. But what happened to that amateur standing? And do we need to get paid? I understand competition and free markets. I appreciate that aspect of it. But I worry if this is going to make it tougher for smaller colleges to compete. Even for BYU, which is a big-time college, they don't always get the pick of the litter. The standards of BYU probably inhibit some people from coming to BYU, which is probably a good thing from a BYU perspective. But you have to find the diamond in the rough and develop them. You have to have better coaching.
I know I paid my Little League baseball team. If they won, we had Slurpees.
Yeah, We'll take away their
amateur.
They played harder
standing
to get Slurpees. Governor Gary Herbert, 17th governor of the state of Utah, former governor. We'll still call him the governor because you get that title for life. On here with the wise guys. And speaking of sports and your adventures, you've been to the White House a number of times, both with President Obama and President Trump. They're both into sports.
And President Biden.
And President Biden. You're right. And sports is kind of the universal neutralizer of the room. Tell us of some of the adventures in the Oval Office over sports.
Well, we did talk about a lot of sports, but, politics is a sport. They call it a blood sport. It gets pretty nasty sometimes, and the competition is keen, let me tell you. President Obama, really a gentleman. I enjoyed working with him. We disagree on our politics in a very vast degree. But he always talked about basketball. He had pictures in the White House of him playing basketball. And
pictures of himself?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he had one picture. He was over some guy. He was blocking his shot. He was very proud of it. He jumped up there and he had his fingers on the ball and had a little block shot there. And we were talking one day. I said, I used to play a little basketball. And he said, well, you couldn't beat me. I said, well, I've kind of seen you play.
Did you challenge him to some free throws?
Play. Well, he's about 5 or 6 inches taller than me and about 20 years younger. I don't think I could beat him one-on-one, but I was ready to take him on in a game of horse.
Yeah.
I think I'm a better shooter than he is.
Did you challenge him to a game of
horse? He had a hoop out back.
Yeah, he played every weekend. He played a little basketball.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit of basketball and some sports in that regard. Donald Trump, when I was in the White House with him one day, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's.
What's the most interesting thing about him?
He very much a hyperbole, exaggeration, just bigger than life guy. And I was in there one day with him and talking, and he said, "What's your golf handicap, Gary?" And I said, "Oh, I'm about a 12 or a 13. We got to golf. I've got this great place in New Jersey. You've got to see it. It's the best. It's the biggest. It's the best." So he invited me to come and play golf. We never did make it work, but he likes to golf and he thinks he's.
Did you say,
golfer.
"Hey, you have a better place in Florida. Why aren't we playing down there?"
Yeah, I didn't say that. No.
So he talked golf with you.
He taught golf and he was big into golf. President Obama was big into basketball. George W. Bush was really big into baseball.
Yeah,
I think he used to own the Houston Astros and all.
Right.
And he tells the story. He told it to us. We were 3 or 4 of us governors sitting around a table with him, and he told the story of when after September 11th. And you can go to YouTube and actually find this video. But they invited him to shortly after that to throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium. And he told the story. He said, "I wanted to show America was still good and New York was back, and so not being intimidated. That was part of the motivation." But they put a bulletproof vest on him. They put him under the stands, and he's warming up. He's warming up to the old soup bone, so throw a strike. And Rodriguez come by.
Alex Rodriguez?
Yeah, A-Rod. He comes by and says, "Hi, Mr. President." And he'd heard he was going to throw out the first pitch, and he said, "I'll maybe give you some advice." And I said, "What?" He says, "Well, make sure you throw the pitch from the rubber up on the mound. Don't step in front of it like some do.
That's great advice."
And he says, "Why?" And he says, "This is New York, and if you don't do that, they'll boo you."
Oh, wow.
So he's, "Okay, I can throw from the rubber, And so as Rodriguez is going out the door, he says, "Oh, by the way, whatever you do, do not one-hop it into the catcher. This is New York, and they will boo you."
It's a lot of pressure.
So, a lot of pressure. That's what he said. He got up there, and if you notice on the YouTube, he holds the ball up, the chair, USA, USA, USA. And then he winds up, and he throws in there, and he says, "I threw a perfect strike." That's what he says. And it was a good pitch as far as I can tell from YouTube. his wife Laura Bush was here in town. I asked her about that. He says she told the story the same way he told it, and she finished it by saying, "And he threw a perfect strike," or that's what he told me.
Hey, that was what I liked is he did it with confidence. He threw some heat. He didn't lob it in there.
No.
He walked confidently off the mound. It was like, and the nation needed it.
Yeah. And it did. It was very important to say we're back. But again, that's a sports thing. You know, hey, you know what? Our national pastime, we had September 11th, but we're back. If you think you're gonna stop us, you're not. And our president came out and threw out the first pitch, got a standing ovation, and we're back.
You know what else we found on YouTube? DJ, can you roll that? So July 1st, 2020, the COVID summer, Stadium of Fires canceled. And so we do an interview at the 50-yard line at LaVelle Edwards Stadium. We had to mask up because you were still the governor. And then afterwards, we started throwing the ball. We had multi-cameras, so these were actual passes. Blaine, why don't you analyze the governor's form?
First of all, I like the 3-step drop. That was pretty impressive. And see the pump fake here? It was pretty nice. My question is, did you guys edit that? Like, were those actually, like, those were thrown in and catches?
These were thrown in. Watch this one right here. This one right.
Now we let him throw it.
Took the cake. Look at that.
One hand? You kidding me with this?
Yeah, you got play of the week.
I got play of the week. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. So,
those were your first completions in LaVelle Edwards Stadium, right there with all the legends.
And that was in the middle of COVID.
You know, it's not my first completion at BYU though.
Right.
Because I played in the region championships. It was us. We had a playoff between us and Payson at the time, the region here around Utah Lake, all the cities, and I forget Region 4, whatever we were at the time. And we were behind in the game by about 3 points, 2 points, something like that. And it's 4th and 17 on my own, 25-yard line. And we've only got about 5 or 6 minutes to go in the game, so it's not looking good for the Mudville team, Orem. And so I was also the punter. And so I dropped back to punt, made a nice fake like I was going to punt it, ran out to the sideline, threw the ball to a guy named David Hooley, who ran 78 yards down for the winning touchdown.
Wow.
To put us into the state playoffs. That was our junior year, which we eventually lost to Highland team.
Lil Chaloops chiming in saying that was a Heisman level play right there, your one-handed catch.
Did you see how much elevation I got?
It was
I was Ben is probably Cahoon's jealous.
Maybe
he after that one
put that back on one more time.
After that one-hander,
and if you're listening on the podcast, go to YouTube and go with Gary Herbert, BYU KSL, and you can see this again. We're going to get through these little small moving down the things.
And a curl
that
pattern.
Was a curl, easy
curl pattern here.
This one looks like. Look at a good balance. He comes up.
I had to wait for it a little bit.
But like an out, and then this must be an out and up.
We went deep.
Yeah, this is a slant pattern down deep for 6.
Yeah, I love
That's why I got the hands up.
And now here comes the play.
This is what I learned from Ben.
The one-hander. I love it.
Yeah.
You know what? During COVID, Dave and I were doing games from in this stadium, and about the same number of people were at the games during that period of time. So that was a normal amount of crowd.
It was
for a BYU game during COVID.
Well, unfortunately, and I actually sent we had people calling all the time and getting after me for not opening everything up, and we were probably more open than most every state in America, but we still were cautious and careful, and we're learning as we go the science, and it was not all the way in. The healthcare professionals, I mean, they've modified and changed. But I sent, they were complaining, and so I sent a letter to the football team and said, look, I've got football season tickets at BYU too, and I want to see you play in the stadium myself. And unfortunately, we have circumstances that make it difficult for us to do that. They put that on the scoreboard up top where they could read it during practice, that a message from the governor. And the end of it was go fight, win, go Cougars.
That was an amazing season.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal season. One of the best of all time, and that 2020 season was pretty special. And BYU was thrust into the spotlight because they're one of the few teams that figured out how to play.
Yeah.
During that season.
Tom Homo, again, did a good job of going out and finding people who would play. We had a lot of support from the athletes, and particularly high school athletes. We had some challenges with some of the parents. But we had the quarterback of the football team, had a cheerleader, and they'd get together before the game, and they'd say to the parents, look, we've asked you to wear masks.
Yeah.
We want to play football. We want to play basketball. We ask you to please cooperate so we can continue to participate. And we did a pretty good job. I can tell you that it was a difficult time. I wouldn't put that on my worst enemy, the COVID 2020. But and a lot of things I wanted to do, I couldn't do.
And it was surreal. It was surreal sitting there doing that interview at the 50-yard line in a completely empty stadium where in normal years we'd be doing rehearsals for Stadium of Fire.
That's true. And I'm thinking you said about not playing in the LaVell Edwards Stadium, but I played in the old football stadium down there where we won the playoffs.
Yeah, so that's important. But these were your first LaVell Edwards passes.
But it's. I just want you to know this, that we had people in politics. Glenn Beck, extreme right wing, said the state that handled the pandemic the best was Utah.
Yeah.
We had on the Wall Street Journal, had it on the front page here about 2 or 3 weeks ago, a study that had been done from the beginning of the pandemic till to currently. And they said the state that handled the pandemic the best, Utah.
There was great balance here in Utah with
and it was still hard.
Yeah.
Even though it
was hard everywhere. Right.
Yeah. And it's still going on. We got different variants.
Right.
I mean, people are getting still sick. We need to be careful out there. Wash your hands. That's probably the best thing. Take your vitamins. Keep your immune system up. Just a little common sense, but because we still have this flu that's going around and different variants out there.
Yep.
Tell me about this quote. Work will win when wishy-washy wishing won't. How does that apply to sports in your life? And I know it comes from your adopted father, Dwayne.
Yeah, my father, he was the hardest working person I ever knew.
Yeah,
he was just a workaholic, good guy. Always had his priorities straight, but this was the hard worker.
And your Little League coach.
And he's my Little League coach. And he actually got that from his father, my grandfather. They were raised on a farm up in Idaho, and a lot of work there to go around. But my dad, he didn't want to miss the opening day of school. But his dad says, you got to hold the field and get into the grain and the hay and plow the field. And so my dad, when my grandpa went to sleep, got up out of bed at like 11 o'clock at night, worked all night long so he could go to school the next day on his first day of school. He just work. So this phrase he taught us all when we were young is work will win when wishy-washy wishing won't. And it's a little hokey, the 8 W's, but it's a good principle. Work will win when wishy-washy wishing won't. A lot of us wish this or wish that, and we need to put our shoulder to the wheel and push ahead. And his example still in my own life, I'm still working hard and trying to get better at whatever I'm doing. And all of us can excel and improve. Just put your shoulder to the wheel, and work will win when wishy-washy wishing won't.
Let me tell you, when I'm in a bunker, there's a lot of wishy-washy wishing to get out of that
We've
thing.
seen that.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
But what we should do, though, is go over to the practice bunker.
Oh, do the work?
And do the work
Yeah,
in practice.
That's right.
Say,
That's the part I missed.
That's the problem.
That's the part
And
I
I
missed.
have to say, and Dan Forsman, who's a friend of all of ours, I see Dan so many times. Well, I'm coming off the course, and I go, "Did you play, Dan?" He goes, "No, I just came in practice today." So he spent like
that's
and
what those pros do.
Dan was coming back from
practice.
injury and trying to get back into playing for him. And what he didn't do was show up 3 minutes before his tee time, run out, play 9 or whatever, and run home. He's constantly practicing. He's putting the work in so that it's just not wishy-washy like the rest of us.
I bumped into him once out on the golf course. He was just sitting there in his cart. He was out on one of the holes out in the back 9 of Riverside. And just sitting there. And we stopped by Ron Hawkins' line and said, "How you doing, Dan?" So, "Well, I'm working on my golf game." And he's just sitting here. He says, "Well, I'm visualizing how I hit a high fade into this hole with a 7-iron." And he reminded me of Jack Nicklaus. He did Park Meadows up in Salt Lake. We honored Jack here a few years back, and good friend. And he did Park Meadows. He took people on a tour, and he said why he laid the holes out the way he did and what he was expecting people to do. And he came to this hole, and he says, "This is going to take a high fade with your 5-iron. You need to hit it on about the second groove."
What?
I'm thinking we're lucky to hit the.
I just want to have it on the face, right?
Hit a high fade here on the second groove with your 5-iron.
Those guys can work the ball.
Oh my gosh,
it's amazing.
these guys are good.
But they put a ton of work in on the range that we don't put in.
Hours upon
we don't have
hours.
time for
We don't
that.
have time for.
We just barely warm up. We'll meet you on the tee box.
I want to get your thought. Golf's a big part of this state because there's so many good golfers that either live here now or grew up here. Tony Finau, of course, we're all proud of and is doing great things out there now, amongst others. But what about the Olympic Games? So Salt Lake City was known for the great hosting of the Winter Olympics. Now there's talk about them hosting another Winter Olympic Games. Do we want that here in Utah? Is that a good thing for the state? Should we be pushing for that?
Well, I personally think it's a great thing for the state. It turned out to be much better than anybody expected in 2002. I put together an exploratory committee to look at it and see what the potential was, and found our venues are still in good shape.
Yeah.
Might need a little sprucing up, but we happen to have the venues. Anybody else that doesn't have them is going to have to spend $1 billion or $2 billion to build them. So we have a leg up on that. And we also have convenience. We have an I-15 spine. We have a lot of hotels. It's easy to get to. When they held it up in Vancouver area and Western Canada, it would sometimes take you a couple hours on just one-way roads to get up to the venue, and you'd miss the time. It was not convenient to get there. So we have the training center. We have the venues that we've kept up. We were smart. We did the Olympics in such a way that we made money.
Yeah.
Reinvest that money back into these venues. And at our Olympics, if you watch the Winter Olympics, if Utah was a country, we're going to finish probably in the top 7 or 8 in the world from just people from Utah. And
competing.
Whether they're residents here or they train here, but we really are contributing significantly to winter sports. Our ski association, our snowboard association, all headquartered here in Park City. Greatest snow on earth, and it really is.
I was over in Sochi in 2014.
Yeah.
We were waiting for you to come over, by the way, to be with us. But you didn't come over because it was so far away and all that stuff. But yeah, it was a Utah athlete or a trained athlete every single day in the medal stand.
We've done a great job, and we are now, because of the work we've done, we were named here about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I guess it was, while I was governor, we got named America's Choice. So for the next Olympics that comes to America, we are America's Choice by the USLC.
After LA, right?
Well, LA's, yeah.
In 28.
Well, that's probably what's going to happen. That's not certain, but it's hard to have two in the same back-to-back in the same continent, let alone the same country. It's hard for us to raise money if LA is going to have the Summer Olympics, and we can't start raising money until after they're done to not encroach upon their fundraising efforts. So 2030, 2034, probably the more likely dates for us. And if I was a betting person, and I'm not, I'd say probably 2034.
34.
But we're situated, we are suited. There's not a better place in the world to host Winter Olympics than here in Utah.
All right, we've got the governor's quiz in our final minutes with you tonight here on the Wise Guys, and we sure appreciate you coming. Blaine, why don't you orchestrate the governor's quiz, and then we'll hit you up with a couple of other notes. And we do want to talk about the governor's pardons, which continue to this day.
Very important part of our golf. And we're playing this week. Are we not playing this week? We're not telling people where and when, but we're going to go this week.
I heard you're getting a tee time for Saturday, so
we're locked
we
in.
got it.
I've got permission from Jeanette to go golfing.
We're
so
going.
We're going to take advantage of that.
We're definitely going, so I'm in. All right, you and your wife, Jeanette, she's also a golfer, by the way.
She is.
Right? So you have 6 kids. How many grandkids?
17
grandkids. Your son-in-law, Ben Cahoon, played and coached at BYU and was a star receiver in the Canadian Football League.
True.
In your prime, which scenario was the most possible? A, defending him against a pass. B, scoring on him in basketball. Or C, striking him out.
The last two, I couldn't compete with him catching a football, and he's much faster than I am.
Okay, so you could not defend him on a pass.
But when he came home off his mission, I mean, I've got this on the record, probably on video someplace.
We believe it.
He sent a picture. Him and Kimberly were communicating with letters, and he threw down the gauntlet and sent a picture of him dunking the basketball in downtown Philadelphia. He was part of a league there with a lot of African-American black guys, basketball stars, and they had this little white guy. He's out there dunking the basketball. So he had a picture. He says, "Tell your dad I'm ready for him."
Oh man!
And so I just sent a picture back with him and said, I showed me with the two-handed behind the back stuff, and I didn't tell him I'd lowered the basket.
Oh, I was thinking mini tramp, but anyhow.
Either way. But anyway, so he comes home. He's up at Rick's college, comes home on a weekend. I've got a basketball court in my backyard, so I had home court advantage. But we started playing. We played 3 games to 22. And my daughter came. She showed up just a little bit late for the first game, and she says, "Dad, what's the score?" I says, "It's 14-2. And she says, "Are you behind by that much, Dad?" I says, "No, you just got it backwards." So he had to go back to his teammates and tell him his old father-in-law, who was soon-to-be father-in-law at the time, who was, I think I was 42, 43 at the time. He was 22.
You got it.
He got beat by this old man.
All right, before Blaine's next question.
He worked him.
When Lone Peak basketball and half their team came to BYU, when they won the national championship, they went up to see you up at the Capitol, and you had a hoop there, and you challenged him to a free throw shooting contest.
How do you know all this stuff?
And you beat every single one of them.
You've done research. Yeah. Well, that's not quite the way I would say it.
I thought that's the way you told it to me.
No.
We've been taking notes.
Lone Peak was the national champions that year.
Right. Eric Mika, Emery, Haas.
All those guys. Yeah. And so they came up to the Capitol where we honored them. And unbeknownst to me, they brought in a parquet court, put it down by the rotunda.
Okay.
And said, "We want to play you a game of horse."
Oh, that's right. It was horse.
And so I said, "Sure, okay."
They had no idea what they were getting
into. Well, here's the funny ending. So they were dressed up. They had their coats on. We took our suit coats off. They gave me a jersey. Said Lone Peak #1. So I thought, hey, on the team.
There you go.
And so they threw a basketball to me, brand new, and it just felt good. You know how you felt a good little tackiness on the basketball? It just feels good. I thought, you know what? I think I can make every shot. And I made the next 8 shots in a row, including 4 3-pointers.
And you wiped them out.
And I beat them horse to nothing. And it was on. It was on Channel 5. Didn't cover as much, unfortunately, but Channel 2 had a great spiel on it. And they had a teaser that says, "Herbert plays the Lone Peak High School in horse. You'll be surprised at the outcome."
So I've never heard somebody say. So that's a new phraseology I haven't heard, and that is, "Hey, you played somebody horse. How'd you do?" "I beat him horse to nothing."
Horse to nothing.
Yeah.
Horse to nothing.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and they interviewed the team afterwards. And it was at lunchtime, so the legislature was in session, so it was filled up, and I was so hot. Pretty soon, people were saying, I'd shoot, and they go, "Money, money, money." And afterwards, the Haas boy said to the announcer, "Well, he's been practicing."
Yeah.
I thought, well, you guys won the national championship. You play 4 hours a day, and you accused me of practicing. It's the first time I picked up a basketball in about 10 months.
Something I've been perplexed by, and it doesn't happen anymore because Utah came into the modern times, but when I came out here in 1981 from New York, first time I'm playing football season's over. We're just playing some basketball in the field house. I get a ball. I go over, top of the key, knock one down. I'm standing there. I'm like, "Hey, change. Let's go."
They took it and started playing?
They just took it and shot.
Yeah, not everyone knows that.
That was weird. That was weird. So I get another ball. I go to the junction. I step out a little bit, knock down another one. Dudes, change. And they go, "What's change?"
Yeah,
I said,
that's East Coast.
When you make a shot, you get change. You get the ball back. Are you kidding me right now? They're like, "No, we never heard of that." And these were all Utah kids.
Well, that's because you're out in the hood and we're just here on the farm.
No, but hey, it's no longer the farm anymore. I'm just saying in 81, the Utah guys I knew didn't know what change was. Please.
Hey, shout out to our user Monkey Merks, gifted 5 subs to some of our viewers tonight.
Oh, that's awesome!
Nice job.
See, we got this running, Gary, all this stuff here.
Oh, I see.
And they talk to each other. They're asking questions. We're watching some of these.
White men can indeed jump.
Yes, they can.
All right, Blaine, go to question number 2.
Next question. Can BYU Hall of Famer Danny Ainge build the Jazz into a championship contender?
You know, I was with Charles Barkley. Charles is just a fun guy.
Yes, he is.
And he's really smart.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about running for governor of Alabama.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, we made another program. We'll talk about Charles Barkley stories. He's a really great guy. But I said, you know, you're one of our favorite players in my family. When you were with Danny Ainge at Phoenix,
Right.
and you know, you're playing in the NBA Finals. You got Chicago. You're playing the finals. You go on national television as you're being interviewed, and you say to the interviewer, "The Phoenix Suns, we're going to win this series. We're going to win the NBA championship." The guy says, "Well, how do you know that, Charles?" He says, "Because God told me." And he said, "God told you?" He said, "Yeah, I was talking to him last night." Well, I remember watching that, and we laughed and rolled on the floor. And Charles, God told him he talked with him last night. And I says, "What do you have to say about it?" Because, Charles, I've always wanted to ask you because you lost the series. He said, "What I found out was God really was Michael Jordan."
Oh, jeez.
But anyway, Danny was not only a great basketball player, one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Yeah.
You know, he played professional baseball, professional basketball, All-American.
Would have been a great
wide
receiver, yeah.
Right? Yeah, he was just a great athlete and a competitor to the nth degree. Larry Bird said he would have tackled his mother if she had a breakaway layup. And Danny was not only a good basketball, he was really smart. And he was like having an extra coach on the team at Phoenix, and he did the same thing at Boston.
Yeah.
And so he goes back to the front office there and becomes the general manager and against an NBA championship. So I think he's going to add a lot to the Jazz, and will add a lot. We'll have to wait and see what they do. It looks like they're looking to kind of start over.
Yeah.
And
they're one more trade away from a complete start.
Which is kind of what he did in Boston. We kind of broke it down and rebuilt it. You know?
Yeah, everybody loves Donovan Mitchell. We all do, and we like Rudy. I remember bumping into Ryan Smith after they lost in the playoffs, and I said, "What are you going to do, Ryan?" He said, "I only got two things that I can do. One is to see if I can beef up what we've already got and add to it and make it better as we age, or I'm going to start over and build a new team." And so, which is true, you know, and I think they're going for the latter. I don't know what they're going to do with Donovan. You know, he's such a crowd pleaser, and they love him. But
every time you check your phone on Twitter, you expect news of something about Donovan.
But I with Dwayne Wade and with Danny, you know, I think Ryan's got a good front office there, making good trades, making good decisions. So I'm very optimistic and bullish about the Jazz in the future.
The most important thing for Danny moving back to Utah is that his wife Michelle plays tennis. She's on Brenda's team, my wife.
Oh.
And Brenda's like, I don't even care about that stuff. Michelle's just awesome teammate. So she's really competitive too. Maybe not quite like Danny.
Maybe not.
But they sure enjoy that.
All right, last quiz question.
If Jaren Hall, Puka Nacua, and Chris Brooks all stay healthy this season, so starting, you know, NFL wide receiver, possibly an NFL running back, NFL quarterback, how many games do you think BYU wins? We're looking for your prediction. I'm going to write it down.
Okay. Well, Jaren.
And we're going to revisit.
If Jaren can stay healthy, that's the worry. He's got a great arm, and you know, a former baseball pitcher, and also, and he's got good genealogy. His dad was a great running back.
Yeah.
And he's got those good running qualities too. So that's the key. If we can keep him healthy, I think Nakua is obviously a great receiver.
He's an Orem Tiger, just like you guys.
Yeah.
That's right.
So get those Golden Tigers on the field, and boy, good things are going to happen. Let's see, how many games are they playing?
They were playing 12.
They have 12 games.
And then a bowl
in a regular
game.
season, a bowl. So 13 games. 13.
Well, let's say they go to the bowl game, so we'll call that a win. But the regular season, 12 games, I think they'll be 9-3.
All right, 9-3. Nice. And then we're going to have them win a bowl game. So 9-3 regular season.
If they get 10 wins, I know when Ben played at the Y, they went to Cotton Bowl. It was great. They were like 10-1.
14-1, right?
Because they had an extra game because they went to Hawaii too that year.
Yeah. And they had the WAC championship.
Yeah, and they finished, I think, 4th in the nation that year. Great run for the Cougars that year.
First and only New Year's Day bowl and a win on
That's
CBS.
Right.
Yeah, that was great. We were there, and it was a great bowl game, and that was Ben's junior year. But, boy, you could see great things happening.
Inspired by our visit last week from Scott Warner, who's a social media guru. 5 things on getting to know the former governor, and then we'll do golf pardons, and we'll get you out of here. Thanks for hanging out with us, by the way.
Hey, what else would I rather do?
It's been fun. It's been fun. All right, your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, my gosh.
These are just rapid fire.
Yeah, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid for a lot of reasons. Butch Cassidy, his name is Robert Leroy Parker. He's my cousin. And so, and he stole horses from my wife's family down in Payson. That's where we first met each other, our families, and we're stealing horses from Jeanette's family back then. So it was just a fun family, and Bob Redford's a friend, and
so that's it, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid?
What's the female star opposite Robert Redford in that? His love interest?
Played at a place.
I don't know.
Is it Catherine Ross?
Catherine Ross, that's it.
Catherine Ross. Oh, I was in love with Catherine Ross as a young man. I saw her, and I thought she was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen in my life. Catherine Ross.
Yeah, she was very pretty. She's still pretty.
Yep.
All right, favorite cereal?
I like Cheerios.
Old school.
Cheerios. Do you like Honey Nut or just regular?
I like regulars, and I put bananas on them, a little sugar.
Oh, okay. Spices it up.
And what's good about them is you can take them to church and feed your kids and still get a little
We
snack.
all grew up on Cheerios.
Get your snack yourself in church.
We all grew up on Cheerios. We sat there and thought, why did we get Cheerios when Fruit Loops were such a better option?
I'm a Honey Nut guy, actually. If I do the Cheerios, I go to the
I've had Honey Nuts. But Cheerios are always good. You can just kind of eat them plain, and you feel healthy.
Favorite rock band?
I am a big Beach Boy fan.
Don't let him make you do rock. I don't even know why it's rock, because he's rock and roll. It can be any band.
Well, I'll just tell you.
Well, Beach Boys wasn't a rock band.
That's true. Okay.
Well, they were
a band.
They were rock and roll.
Yeah.
But the Beach Boys I've met, and I've had an opportunity to introduce them to a number of concerts, and they had, Fun was written here in Utah when they were at Kanak radio station up in the Salt Lake area.
Oh, yeah.
And the manager of the radio was friends with their father, I forget his first name, Murray Wilson. And so they helped promote the Beach Boys at Kanak radio station. They came and played at Lagoon twice a year. So anyway,
I remember that Stadium of Fire.
The radio, that was great. We met with them then.
Yeah.
But they went to the radio station. They're promoting the Beach Boys, and this girl, the radio station manager's daughter, said, "Dad, I need to go to the library. Can I borrow the T-Bird?" And she took the T-Bird. He had one. Did go to the library. Went down to the radio station to hang out with the Beach Boys, and he caught her there. And the Beach Boys, Daddy took the T-Bird away.
Fun.
That's when the T-Bird was taken away.
That's right. They wrote. I talked to them. They said we wrote that song on our way from Kanak radio station to the airport.
That's classic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So I love the Beach Boys.
Boys
I'm part of that's because my wife loves the Beach Boys.
Okay.
And I love my wife.
We all love the
everyone.
Beach Boys.
It's love. It's
the
a
Beach
love
Boys
fest.
is classic old school. Everybody loves the Beach
Favorite president of the United States?
Ronald Reagan.
I knew you were going to say.
I knew it
but,
too. I knew it.
But I have great.
There's not really an asterisk for it. But.
Reagan, again, he's kind of the modern day version of common sense conservatism. He brought people together. He even got the Democrats talking about tax cuts, led to the 25 years of prosperity. He was a good communicator. He made people feel good. George W. Bush made people feel good. He's the guy you like to hang out with. He's just kind of a common guy. But, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, some really classy guys in our early days. And Abraham Lincoln maybe did the most outstanding job, and George Washington of anybody.
Yeah.
But Reagan's, I'm kind of a Reagan conservative, I say.
Ronald Reagan's my guy too. Yeah, that's my guy too.
Number 5 on the list of 5, a favorite live stream hosts.
Well, you two guys.
That's the answer we were looking for. We're writing that one down.
Yeah.
Perfect
I don't know who's
answer.
1 or 2 here, but might be a tie right at the finish line.
We'll just go to a tie.
Yeah.
We'll take a
Dave
tie.
and Blaine. Yeah.
We'll take a tie on that.
Now, as we say goodbye to the governor, we have David Phillips coming up here in just a few minutes from BYU TV, and still a lot of news to get to from the day. We're golfing on Saturday. We play golf quite a bit. When we golfed with you while you were in office, we had the luxury of the Utah Highway Patrol coming with us.
That's right.
Amazing how good they were.
Out in front of us.
They could find a Titleist in the worst of circumstances.
It was. I never had to worry about getting in the rough and not having a good lie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
I saw some of that.
That's
going
right.
on.
All of a sudden, it's like, hey, nice kick out.
yeah,
So now we don't have them, so we have to help each other find our last ball. But the governor's pardon, which we were introduced to while you were in office, that has continued on.
that's true. The governor of Utah can't not pardon like some other states. We have a pardon system, a committee. So if you're on death row, and life sentence or whatever, you're trying to get pardoned,
Right.
it goes to our Board of Pardons and Parole. But if you're playing golf, one of the few states that have this, they've given to the governor, is the ability, if you have a bad shot, to pardon that shot. Someplace they call them mulligans, but not in Utah. We if you're with the governor, one of the great things of golf with the governor, that's why people invite me, is that you can get a governor's pardon on a bad shot.
This extends, like, once you're out of office, it's a lifetime.
It's a lifetime.
I'm planning on a number of them on Saturday.
Well, I'll come with a lot of them in my pocket.
I go home, I'm like, hon, I shot 72 today. She goes, did you play with Gary Herbert today?
Well, I inspire you to play good golf.
And then we play along when you pardon yourself. So it's like,
we let you pardon
it's like the fifth putt, but I guess you're.
I save them. I finally say, well, you guys have all had about 2 or 3 pardons. I ought to give myself one on this putt.
Or a river dog.
Honestly, governor doesn't need very many pardons. Like, when I didn't realize that you hadn't taken up golf until you said you were 42 years old. That was news to me, because he plays like he's been playing his whole life.
Hits it right down the middle.
Yeah, so Mike Levitt became the governor and raising money to an art form by having golf events, and I would get invited as a county commissioner, and I thought, gee, I need to come up with a way to hit that ball, not embarrass myself. My sister, bless her heart, had a golf driving range over between Lehigh and American Fork, which is now all shopping centers.
Yeah.
But they gave me the good family discount, and I got a book from Jack Nicklaus called Golf My Way. And I had a couple of videos, and I went over there and practiced golf, and that's how I learned to play golf.
That's because you've got this competitive fire that you do not want to.
Work will win when wishy-washy wishing won't.
42 years old, it's never too late. Work will win when wishy-washy wishing won't. He worked, and now he can go out there and play with anybody.
Governor Herbert is the executive chair of the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce. He's got his own NIL deal with Utah Valley University, name, image, and likeness for the Gary R. Herbert Institute of Public Policy. That's kind of like your own NIL.
Well, not exactly. We're going to help young people, though, at UVU, which, is our largest institution in the state as far as student population goes, 43,000 students there. And this institute's going to be designed to help them understand the responsibility of being a citizen, be civic-minded, how policy's made. We have internships with a lecture series. I've got some big headliners will be coming to UVU to speak. And I'm really excited about that opportunity for me to continue with Utah Valley University. So I say go Cougars and go Wolverines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blue Cougar 73 would like you to pardon the Utes. That is no longer within your powers. It's just on the golf course. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Tuesday. We hope you come back.
Thanks so much.
And
well, thanks for the invitation. We've got a few Charles Barkley stories and a few other things.
Yeah, we'll come. We're going to come back and we'll do a whole segment on Charles Barkley stories at some point.
We'll have it Barkley night.
Yep.
And one of the great things about being governor, you meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I've had a great experience in the last 30 years, 6 months and 5 days. When I was an elected official, county commissioner, lieutenant governor. Has been just a wonderful experience for me, and I appreciate the people of Utah letting me have that opportunity.
We appreciate you having a time to be here with us, and we'll see you on the T-Box.
We'll see you Saturday. Maybe we'll live stream from our golf.
Yeah, we'll do some live stream.
When you hit
show your swing.
When he does a complete shank shot and you pardon him, I want that live stream.
We'll edit that thing right out.
Yeah.
So thanks so much.
All right, thank you guys.
We appreciate
Great
it.
to be with you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. All right.